Wow, I'm actually on camera. Isn't that shocking? I'm shocked. But good morning, star shines. The earth says hello. So this is kind of important. And I feel like for those of you who missed the meeting this week, I mean I get it, it's week 8, whatever, man. This video is for those who missed their week and also for those who went, right? I sprang a lot of information on you guys in a few hours, and I'm pretty sure you only took in 20%, which is completely normal, by the way. I didn't absorb all of this information until I had to use it. So, but yeah. So today we're going to talk about airfoils. Not today in this video, but a lot of you won't even touch this topic 2 years from now. If you're lucky, 1 year from now. So we're gonna go through this on a need to know basis because that's what I do. And also, a mechanical engineer, I'm not aerospace engineer. Your co-lead is. So if you want to go through everything with details, ask him. Do not ask me though, okay? And also some motivation for this. You might be thinking, oh, why should we care about airfoils? We're not making airplanes. They're not making the hull. Like, what does that have to do with me? Good question. So it turns out we're gonna use the airfoils to make the pitch fins and the rudder fins. And this really kind of applies to us. And I'm gonna walk you through the basics. And again, everything will be on a need to know basis. So I will not be flashing you some formulas, like some fancy formulas. Never. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what the quantity means and how it came about and how we're going to use it. Cool. And now I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully nothing embarrassing comes out. Oh God. Okay, here we go. Whoa. Hold the phone. Whoa. Carly made a a thing. Darn. Okay, let's see. Okay. Airfoils. I had a lamer title, but whatever, man. Okay, let me turn on my laser pointer. Yeah, they have laser pointers here. Okay. I just told you about the motivation. Yeah, we need this for our pitch and rudder fins. Okay. Next, some background knowledge. Here's the big one, though. So you might want to put this on while you're like doing your dishes or something. Okay, the Bernoulli effect. Have you guys ever wondered how planes fly? No, it's not quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is a scam. Okay, but this is how planes fly. Once upon a time, there was this Italian dude called Bernoulli. He was kind of rad. He discovered something called the Bernoulli effect. So he's narcissistic too. And I'm going to demonstrate what it is right now. And this is what we call the Bernoulli effect. So what I wrote here is that fluid moves fast, pressure decreases. That's the dumb way of saying it. So just now, let me just do it again. The fluid, the air, moves fast across the surface. So, oh yeah, by the way, pressure force always points towards the surface. The pressure on this surface decreases. The pressure force here decreases, and then the atmospheric pressure force is much higher now. Therefore, it generates a lift force. Yes. You can repeat that again. I will not. It was a handful, but let me demonstrate this again. I have no more air. So, Bernoulli effect. And this is 85% of the explanation as to how aircrafts fly, right? And I have a pretty little diagram here that explained what I did just now, but you can read. You can read. It's okay. It's okay. Next. Okay, this is a pretty little diagram I got from my textbook. You're gonna get it too. It's Munson, but I got edition 6 because my file for edition 9 got corrupted. Uh, sorry, but this is not important, okay? Okay, this is kind of important. Yeah, but the most important one is diagram C. So, what I want you to take away from this is the orientation of the forces, right? So your lift force is always normal to the, I believe, surface of your thing, of your object. And the drag force is always parallel to the surface of your object. It's either flow stream or the object. Intuition tells me it's actually flow stream, so I'm kind of wrong on this, but that's all you need to know, though. Perpendicular, parallel. I know. Perpendicular, parallel. That's all you need to know. You know what? I think it's actually surface, like object surface. It's not the flow stream. No way, it's actually the flow stream. You know what? It's not relevant to you. Okay, here's the big part. Here's the juicy part. Okay, here's some words that we're gonna throw out there, and you just need to know what it means. Okay. So, Reynolds number and angle of attack. So at this point, I'm pretty sure you've heard the leads saying it in passing. So what do they mean exactly? Okay, first off, let's go through Reynolds number. So once upon a time, there's this dude called Dude Reynolds, not Reynolds. Some people like to say Reynolds. I like saying Reynolds because I don't like to get it confused with Ryan Reynolds, me thing. He was like, it's really hard to identify flow with some number with a bunch of units. If you all know units are hella annoying, what if I non-dimensionalize it? What if I make a number with no units that could describe the characteristic of flow? So that's what Reynolds number is. Now, that's a lot of words. And the best analogy I can give you are shoes. So, as we all know, we're either a size 6, a size 8, and in Europe, we're suddenly a size 36 and a size 38. Why? I don't know. I can take a hot girl guess, but I don't know. As far as we're concerned, it's just a number describing the characteristic, in this case, the size of our feet, right? Same thing applies for Reynolds numbers. So there's two types of flow that you need to know, right? You got your turbulent and your laminar flow. We only care about turbulent flow because laminar flow is the exception, not the rule. I might insert a video here. Editing Carly, do your job. Yeah, and we're back. So turbulent flow will be the normal. And here's how we're gonna define turbulent flow. It's gonna be a number. It's 5 times 10 to the power of 5. Anything beyond that, turbulent flow. And where did I get this number? My textbook. That's about it. Some mad scientist a long time ago have decided that's that. And you know what? Who am I to question that? Anyways, for our purposes, Reynolds number, our equation goes U times L times nu. Yes, it's nu. Okay, I get my Greek letters a little confused. So let me just define the quantities one by one. So U is the free stream velocity. So I wrote down the simple version. U is the velocity of the fluid coming at the object. So like these arrows, right? L is the characteristic length. So this is a side view of an airfoil. So the characteristic length, would it be this or this? The answer would be this. So characteristic length, the concept is pretty intuitive. I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, so nu is the resistance to flow due to gravity. So basically, how flowy is your flow? You know how water flows pretty smoothly and how honey doesn't? Yeah, honey, you gotta shake the bottle, you gotta be like, so their new value is pretty high. And technically, by the way, it's called kinematic viscosity. I think that's right. Anyways, so that's all you need to know. Don't panic. And next term we need to know is the angle of attack. I know. Ray has said this word a lot. Sounds really cool. And I said is angle of rotation. So now I'm gonna correct myself. It's not technically angle of rotation. So this is what it is, right? So this is your airfoil, and this is your center line, known as the chord length, right? So the angle of attack is the angle here, the chord length relative to the horizontal. So yeah, so the chord length here, relative to the horizontal, so your x-axis. So that will be your angle of attack. So now you know it's more specific meaning than that. Okay. Well, that's cool. So on Saturday, I went through what dimensionless means. I will go through it really quickly because I think it's important to understand as well. Okay. Let me find a space. La 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 la. Oh my God, hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. There's so much crap here. Oh my God. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I was like, Reynolds number. We're gonna use U, big U, L, new, right? So the units for U would be meters per second. I'm doing this on a mouse, do not judge me. Here would be M, and then for new, it should be second. What is it? Seconds per meter squared. I'm hoping this is right, but don't do what I do. So for your Reynolds number, it will go. And by the way, this like square bracket is the correct notation when you're writing out your units. This is how you're supposed to write out your units. I learned this in community college. M. Okay. And now I'm just flipping it upside down because that's what like divided by one means. Oops, I did get it wrong, huh? So reverse engineering this. Whoa, reverse engineering. Okay, pen, where? Okay, that makes more sense. So this one, okay. This is what a dimensionless number means. So you're gonna imagine some numbers and these are the units attached, right? Okay. Boom. Crossed out, motherfucker. And suddenly, shouldn't have said that. Yeah, a little swearing is fine. And that is what it means to be dimensionless. Cube, cube. How do I exit this? Okay, back to my main point. Whoa, what is all of this doohickey? Cool. Here. Hey, more quantities you need to know. In the same spirit of Reynolds numbers, we have a few coefficients. So coefficients are just like something like one. They're not dimensionless. That describes the things we need, okay? So your coefficient of drag describes your drag force, duh. It can further be broken down into two types. There's your coefficient of drag when there's zero lift, and there's your coefficient of drag due to lift, right? And then the coefficient of lift describes lift or the object's tendency to lift up. Yay! And the coefficient of moment describes the object's tendency to rotate. Okay, so how do they all relate to each other? Ooh, I don't know. So basically, it's this. I wrote it down, but I'm gonna write it again. Okay, so you got your CD, CL, CM. It will be the function of your angle of attack, and then your Reynolds number, and then your Mach number. Okay. So in this portion, I'm going to talk about the Mach number a little bit, just for thoroughness sake, right? So if you guys watch Top Gun, in the beginning scene with Tom Cruise, and he was like, "We're breaking through Mach 10." Wow! So what is that? So what is Mach 10? What's Mach number? So Mach number is the speed of an object relative to the speed of sound, right? So there's three categories, not three categories. There's three Mach number categories. I don't know what it's called, but this is what you need to know. Mhm. Okay, we got your supersonic, so your Mach number is bigger than one, and then your sonic, so Mach number equals to one, and your subsonic, Mach number less than one. Okay, Mach number is only relevant when we're trying to discuss the compressibility of the fluid in a flow, which is advanced fluid mechanics 101B. You're gonna see it eventually. Eventually, okay. But for our applications, which is a submarine, we're dealing with subsonic flow. Subsonic flow. So if somebody quizzes you because they're an asshole, just say that. Okay? But for our applications, even, your main concern would be your Reynolds number and your angle of attack. That's it. So to simplify even more, because I told you guys to explain it in dumb, but I realized I could do it dumber. So, okay. So if F input X equals Y, so that would mean F bar alpha. Yeah. So your Reynolds number and angle of attack will be your independent variable. And your coefficient of drag, lift, and moment will be your dependent variable. So what that means, further visualize, will be like, and your C will be here. Yay! Done. Ta-da! I hope you have a better understanding of it. I know on Saturday I was like a little bit rushy. So hopefully that's a little better. Okay, next. Okay, finally, we get to the good stuff. So why do we need to know all of this? What's with the hum and the haw, okay? So when we design our pitch fins and rudder fins, okay, we're only talking about this in terms of them being in the neutral position. So what does that mean? So when you're not moving them at all, that's what that means. So neutral is when it's not moving and the submarine subsequently is moving in a straight line, right? Cool. When that happens, you want a few things. You want it to have minimal to no drag. That would be cool, right? No lift, because why? And no moment. Oh, by the way, moment is just a fancy general math term for rotate. So during the course of your study, you're going to see moment of this, moment of that. Moment means rotation, just a mathematical general term for rotation. That's it. Don't get it twisted. Okay. Anyways, these are the design criteria we need, right? Okay. These are our design criteria we need. And no, we will not talk about materials for now. That's a question for future, Carly. In engineering speak, that will mean when your angle of attack is zero, so corresponds to neutral, your coefficient of drag is really small, your coefficient of lift is zero, and coefficient of moment is zero, and you're given our applications, right? So we don't want the submarine to roll around, around. Your coefficient of moment should be close to zero over the range of all of the angle of attacks we're going to use. And that's a question for Ray, not me, because he needs to calculate the angle of attack. Well, it's not my freaking problem. Okay. Design parameters we need to discuss. Okay. So we're gonna talk about your coefficient of lift to drag ratio. And we're gonna talk about your coefficient of drag versus alpha, coefficient of lift versus alpha, and coefficient of moment versus your angle of attack. Before that, I feel like we kind of need to know how to look at airfoils because we don't want to be dum-dums here. It's very simple. Whatever NACA means, I do not care. Throw some dude's name. But what you need to know is this. The first two digit describes the symmetry of the airfoil. So I don't know what camber means. I don't know why I wrote that, but all you need to know is that 00 means symmetrical. And for our applications, that's muy bueno, okay? And then for the last two digits, it describes the maximum thickness of the airfoil. So it'll be 12% of port length. So what do I mean by that? Hold on. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Your airfoil. And then this will be your chord length. So like the chord length is just like the characteristic length of the airfoil, right? So it'll be like 12%. So like say this is the maximum thickness. It will be like 12% of this. There we go. Okay, and a sidebar. Totally forgot about talking about this here, but I'll talk about it now. So in general, there are two types of airfoils. There's your symmetrical and non-symmetrical. So let me draw that thing out. So you got your symmetrical, yay! And then your non-symmetrical, whatever, right? So why is that the case? Well, turns out, this asymmetrical ones are very good at making things fly, fly, fly. So very good at generating your lift force and minimizing drag. And for symmetrical ones, well, just drag for the most part. So yeah, for our applications, we're probably gonna use a symmetrical one. Yep, yep. That's great. Okay, that's all you need to know. But if you have any more detailed questions, please direct them to Ray. If you have like basic questions, you can ask me. Ah, I'm helpful. I'm tired. Next, hello. Uh, Now we're gonna talk about the ooh. Now we're gonna talk about the coefficient of lift versus coefficient of drag ratio. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about it from our application's point of view. So, do we want a lift force to be generated on our airfoils? And the answer to that is yes. Okay, it's because it's how we're gonna steer the submarine. Okay, right? So I drew this by hand. It's much nicer at all, but I'm just gonna draw it now. Oh, when I draw it. Okay. So let's say just think this is your rudder fin, right? Yeah. And what did I say before? Here. Here would be your lift force. And here it would be your drag force, right? So when you steer, when it's like at some alpha is not zero, so we're steering, right? you want there to be some lift force so that the thing would actually move, would actually steer in the correct direction. But here's the conundrum that we're kind of in. Usually, for an airplane, you want a large lift to drag ratio. So, what does that mean? I know I have trouble understanding ratios too. I know, I'm a senior. I shouldn't have trouble understanding this, but I do because I'm dumb. Okay, so normally you want something like a 2.5 over this. So that means more lifty force than draggy force. So that's good for airplanes. That's explicitly good for airplanes. But for us, the question is a little bit more complicated because, wow, if we have too much lift force, that'll make the submarine a little sensitive. So what does sensitive mean? I mean, you steer a little, so the angle of attack is very small. So you do it, and then your submarine suddenly wham, bams into some wall at the bottom of the pool, and it like so yeah. So we gotta decide how much lift force we actually need. And also, by the way, if you can tell, I think you can tell because all of us took physics here. The lift force is kind of dependent on the area of the fin too, because the area dictates how much water is actually displaces. So, ooh, that's a mouthful. I hope I explained it right. But yeah. So we want this to definitely be more than zero. But how much more than zero is the question that we're dealing with, right? And also when we steer, we don't want too much drag force because after all, we are in a race. So, well, just saying, just saying. All right, next slide. That's all I have to say. So your coefficient of drag versus your angle of attack. Okay, if you're going to take away anything from this, it'll be this. Okay. Oh, crap, why is this so laggy? Okay, this point. So at, oh my God, D, C, D. Okay, all of you took Calc 1. If you're panicking at this type of thing, why? Here. So when the slope is zero, so when you're at the vertex, oh, okay, that will be okay. So also when alpha equals to zero, that's what that means too. Um, that will be the lowest possible drag your component would experience. So that's the number you kind of need to know. That's the most important part. Let me see. I wrote down my notes. I was writing this as I was like taking the trolley. So and also maybe you can pay attention to the slope. It's like the slope steepness dictates how much drag force you will experience as you change your angle of attack. So it's an okay, interesting graph. It's an okay, interesting graph, okay. All right, next. Ah, the coefficient of lift versus your angle of attack. This is kind of important, kind of important, kind of important. So what I told the people was this, right? There are two regions, well, technically three, that you have to pay attention to. First one will be your, is there like a highlighter here? Ooh, no, there isn't. Whatever. Whatever, man. Whatever, man. Go away. That you got your slope you gotta pay attention to. And also when it plateaus. So when see what's so ugly. And also this point, okay, let me talk about this first. First of all, your slope, it just means how much lift force you generate as you change your angle of attack. So as you're steering, how much lift would you generate? So how much steering would you actually do? as you change the angle of your vein. Okay. The more steep the line is, the more lift force you generate, right? So that'd be cool. The next one you need to pay attention to would be when CL. Oh, that's wrong. I don't want to say the correct one because I'm already tired, but this point, eh, the plateau point. So at this point, that would mean that uh from this point forward, no matter how much you change your angle of attack, the lift force generated would be the same. So like ideally it should go like this. This graph should go like this. But as you see, there's something here. Ray talked about it. I'll talk about it a little bit too. Okay. Oops. Well, that was bad. Whatever. This is when your plane spirals and you die. So you know how like, oh, spoiler alert for the first Top Gun movie. So in the first Top Gun movie, Tom Cruise's best friend dies because it's because of this. They were changing the angle of attack all they wanted, but there's like the lift force is fucked basically. Okay, this basically means you lose control. That's a better word of saying it. This means you lose control and you die. So you don't want to go to um an angle of attack from 15 to 20 forward. That means you die. And I'm pretty sure everyone that live, maybe. Who knows? Ah, okay, finally. Finally, we're going to the last part. Okay, your coefficient of moment versus your what's it called? Angle of attack, right? So this is a little complicated, but we'll go through it together. Okay, let's say this is the front of a plane. La 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 la. Oh my God. This is the front view of a plane, right? So your tendency to rotate, right? So you might be asking, rotate about what? Is it like from tip to tail? No, it's from wing to wing. Your tendency to rotate like this, right? So in general, ooh, this is kind of bad. You want it to be a negative slope. So that is good. Your negative slope, because that would mean that you'll have a restoring force when it wants to rotate, and it'll be like a restoring force. And that means your plane won't like, woo. Yeah. So you want it to be a negative slope, which this one, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Okay. And also, yeah, I think this is just it. I'll be honest, I'm not very familiar with this quantity. I'm just talking about it for thoroughness sake. So you want it to go like this in general, but yeah, what this tells you is the stability of your vehicle. So would it do this or would it not? If it's a negative slope, it won't do that. So I think what we're concerned about is here. So it would do that. That's kind of bad. So it should be a negative slope so that at zero angle of attack or like the range of it, so that it would be stable. Ooh, that's not stable. Ooh, that's bad. Ooh, that's kind of bad. Ooh, no. Oh no. Whatever will we do? Okay. Yep, that's about it. Well, if you have more questions, please shoot me a DM or something. And if not, if that was clear and you're just here for a refresher, cool. Yeah, that's all. Bye.